So, this is the most powerful memory of all for me. We would be woken by the sound of this single drum beat. Dum, dum, dum. On that first morning, I was sharing the room with a young woman from the Philippines. We both woke up. We were intrigued and totally baffled. Where was the sound coming from? What was it about? So we rushed out, literally in our 90s, to the nearby street to see if we could find out. And we were astonished to see there two long processions of women approaching each other from opposite ends of the street. It was a very wide street. One was a procession of, as we learned in a few minutes, about 100 Korean women led by a group of women in their 70s or even 80s. And they were, it turns out, the Korean comfort women who had been forced into brothels by the Japanese army during their very long occupation of Korea. They wore masks, which at that time symbolized their silencing, that they had been silenced, unspoken of, unheard from. The women marching right at the front had this large banner which had just one word: apologize. And behind the comfort women in the vanguard were these two young women with these large drums striking, that slow, very doleful beat. Now, from the opposite direction marched a group of about 100 Japanese women of all ages, but again led by a handful of women in their 70s and 80s, who I suppose were the contemporaries of the women leading the Korean procession. They wore no masks, but they also carried a banner right in the front with two simple words: we apologize. There was absolute silence, barring the drum beat. No slogans, no yelling. And when the two groups were face to face, the Japanese women bowed deep to the Korean women and said in unison, I suppose in Japanese or in Korean language, we apologize. And the Korean women bowed back in acknowledgement of receiving the apology. Then the two groups turned around and slowly marched back. With one difference: the drum was no longer beating.